If you followed my career through my writings, or more recently, in television and videos, you're aware of my passion for Africa and the safari experience. I've been fortunate to have hunted most of the established safari destinations, and I've taken most of the dark continent's great game. Perhaps my finest African trophy, in my mind at least, is a Lord Derby or giant eland, taken after a grueling stalk on a blistering hot day in Cameroon several years ago. The giant eland of Africa are a highlight of any hunter's career, but they'll be earned in sweat and effort and rarely come easy. Last April, Aaron traveled to the hot savanna country of the Central African Republic for his second try at this very specialized animal. The hunt for giant eland is more than just a hunt. It can truly become a quest. But when at last you kneel down by the great prize, the miles, sweat, and disappointment of stalks gone wrong will quickly fade, for you've just taken one of the finest prizes Africa has to offer. Today, Aaron Nielsen is headed to the Central African Republic on his quest for a giant eland as we open the pages of Trijicon's World of Sports Afield.
Trijicon's World of Sports Afield is presented by Trijicon, Brilliant Aiming Solutions, DSC, the Dallas Safari Club, Ruger Firearms, Hornady Manufacturing, accurate, deadly, dependable, the Wildlife Gallery Custom Taxidermy Studio, Carl Zeiss Sport Optics, we make it visible, Boyd Harness Company, Cannon Safes, nothing protects like a cannon, the Wild Sheep Foundation,
and Les Chameaux, the best boots money can buy.
Simply getting to your camp in the CAR is a journey in itself. Aaron's departure from Denver was followed by stops in New York, Paris, and Bangui before the charter plane dipped its nose for the final descent into camp. The hunting portion of the adventure was finally at hand.
Guess we've arrived. Somewhere in the middle of the African bush. That'll get you excited when you first get off the airplane in the bush. And they're loading up the trophies from some of the guys' previous safaris, and look at some of these big giant eland. If that's not going to get you excited to be here, I don't know what is. So now I'm really pumped up, looking forward to this.
But finally, we've arrived here at camp in the Central African Republic with CWSA, Central African Wildlife Adventures. Something I've been looking forward to for the last year since I've had this safari arranged. Hopefully we're going to be after giant eland, giant forest hog, buffalo, lots of unique species that they have here to offer in Central Africa. It's a very, very neat place to be. Excited to be here and looking forward to see what happens over the next 3 weeks.
Check a salt lick. See if maybe the eland or the buffalo have hit it.
Compared to other countries of Africa, water is important there. Not at all here. You have plenty of creeks, streams, big rivers, smaller rivers, so the water is all over the place. It doesn't make concentration of game. What you can do to concentrate them, salt licks.
The general idea when hunting the eland and the buffalo included is what we started doing is just going to some of these natural and man-made salt licks. Rather than just cruising the territory hoping to bump into something, which is extremely difficult in the thick bush here. We started off by going to these select salt licks and trying to see what kind of fresh tracks we could cut, be it either eland or buffalo. That was really the main focus and the main target when we started off on the hunt.
Aaron settles the Trijicon onto the shoulders of a savanna buffalo when Trijicon's World of Sports Afield returns. The Hunting Tradition, brought to you by Dallas Safari Club.
I'm Diana Rupp, Editor-in-Chief of Sports Afield magazine, with this week's installment of The Hunting Tradition. Few writers are so closely associated with a certain place as Russell Annabelle was with Alaska. Annabelle, known as Rusty to his friends, was born in 1904 in Washington State. He lived in Alaska for a few years of his childhood and returned there on his own when he was 15. Annabelle spent his first few years in Alaska learning the skills required to live in the bush, run a trap line, and become a hunting guide. It wasn't long before Rusty started writing stories about hunting in Alaska, mostly for Sports Afield magazine. Annabelle's stories are populated with unforgettable characters: surly grizzlies, clueless tenderfeet, and tough old legends of the Alaska frontier like Tex Cobb, as well as the landscape itself, especially the Talkeetna Mountains and the Chugach Range. Nobody could evoke the rough and tumble world of the Alaska frontier the way that Russell Annabelle could, and his editors didn't mind if he took a few liberties with the truth. To this day, a reader can get lost in a Russell Annabelle story and be transported back to the days when the Alaska wilderness was still a frontier and filled with unforgettable characters, both animal and human. Annabelle left Alaska and spent the last years of his life in Mexico, where he continued to write hunting and fishing stories. But he will always be inextricably linked with the exciting world of the Alaska frontier in the first half of the 20th century. You can learn more about the hunting tradition in every issue of Sports Afield and at sportsafield.com.
I'm not a track expert, but it appears to be buffalo tracks. But the tracker, we were just driving down the road and he stopped the truck and now they're looking.
Okay. So we found a single bull buffalo track this morning, 6:20. The signs are not very fresh, but not too old.
I guess we track buffalo now.
It was pretty early in the morning still when we got on these tracks, so the conditions actually were pretty nice. It wasn't too hot yet, and even I, as little experience as I have, I could see that the tracks were extremely fresh. The droppings were fresh, so I didn't anticipate it was going to be too long until we were catching up to these buffalo, and sure enough, after about 45 minutes, we were sneaking around in the bush looking at the buffalo, trying to sort them out and see what was there. Just as we were kind of sitting there, trying to see what we could sort out with the buffalo and trying to locate a good male, we felt the wind switch a little bit, and you could see them just immediately start kind of trotting off to the left. Of course, we were a little bit concerned that, oh man, they're going to go, but the truth of the matter is it was just a smaller group of the herd. They joined up with the bigger group of the herd, moving out to the left and moving out into the open. So in hindsight, it actually worked out big time in our favor.
In the middle of the red color.
Yeah, okay.
I want to go to that place. We have a clear shot. It will be better condition.
Well, finally, Philippe did determine that there was a good bull. We were pretty sure of it. We moved forward just about another 10 yards to get a clear shot. We had to get to the last bit of the bushes really to get clear.
Okay, you see there are three buffaloes on the right. Yes. The one in the middle is red color. Right. Okay, it's the one you are going to shoot. Okay. Go for the shoulder, break it.
Okay. All right, good bull.
Okay, you see it?
Yeah. As soon as we got there, Philippe hurried up, got the sticks up, I got set up, and now we were just waiting for a good shot on the bull.
Okay, he's coming in for a clear shot. Do you see it?
Yeah, the broadside one.
Anytime you want.
Okay. Yes. You sure?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
sure.
good. Cool, man.
Well done.
Thank you. That was an exciting stalk, man. That
Nice
was great. Yeah. Is he
Not
good?
long. Didn't take long.
No,
Really.
not at all. We only tracked for what, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
But it was so good getting him here in this open stuff and getting a lot of good footage. Thanks, man.
On the red one.
On the red one, yes, I wanted a red one too. Thank you. Hey, looks finished, huh?
Yeah.
Has he finished?
Yeah.
Very good, very good. Hey, thank you, my friend. Thank you. It's the second day of the hunt here in CAR, and yesterday we looked for eland quite a bit, and we were kind of doing a little bit of both today. We saw a lot of buffalo tracks yesterday, so I think Philippe wanted to kind of get out and look for the buffalo. And 6:15 this morning we crossed a fresh set of tracks, and Philippe decided we better take off after him, and we didn't probably track for 30-40 minutes and caught up to him. So it's been a pretty exciting morning, and it's still only 8 o'clock in the morning. It's amazing how quickly and early the sun comes up here and you can start hunting. So second day, the hunt's off to a good start.
The sign is fresh, and the eland tracks followed when Trijicon's World of Sports Afield returns.
One very important aspect when trying to hunt the giant eland is when you're looking for these tracks, you have to, it's imperative to try to find the tracks early in the morning, between 6 and let's say 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Reason being is, one, obviously it gets extremely hot and it is more difficult to, just on the hunters. But secondly, if you don't, these eland could be hours ahead of you, and all eland do is walk. They just walk, walk, walk. And if you don't get on the tracks early enough, you're likely going to spend a lot of the day tracking and come up empty-handed by the time the sun goes down.
No signs of eland yet, but buffaloes. All the last 3 Salt Lake we did check. That's it.
Well, after 3 days in the North Camp, Philippe determined that the eland activity here was pretty slow. He wanted to move a little bit further south, so fourth morning we packed up, headed down there. Took us about 5 hours to get into camp, and so we started off from there after day 4.
Professional hunters have an all-purpose term that is used constantly on safari. We'll make a plan. On this day, it consisted of traversing a river with a handy and necessary homemade barge. With the plan made and now executed, Aaron and Philippe continued their journey to the remote camp where the eland hunt would continue.
Philippe says that, and there's a big track in there.
There's a big tracking, and the signs, the dumps are very fresh, and also where they were feeding is still very humid. So it's very, very fresh.
So we go
on that.
Okay,
now.
Good. Let's go see if we can find an eland.
We hadn't gone 200 yards from the vehicle, and we could see where the giant eland had started to run, which obviously indicated they were there just as we started pulling up.
He says that's a good bull right there, good sign.
Well, interestingly enough, even though they were only minutes in front of us, a couple of hours later we were still tracking the giant eland. But we were dead set on staying on these. It looked like there was 3 or 4 animals in the group, but again, this one really big track, and we determined, hey, look, we're going to stay on them. If it takes all day to track them down, we're going to do so, and that's what we did.
Aaron Nielsen is head-to-head with a hunting dream. The conclusion when Trijicon's World of Sports Afield returns. And now, Inside the Hunt, brought to you by Hornady.
On today's Inside the Hunt, let's talk about bullet shape. In the old days, really all bullets were blunt or flat nose or round nose with a blunt front end. And over the years, back in the 1890s, we learned that a sharp-tipped bullet had a much more aerodynamic shape, and it allowed the bullet to hold its velocity much farther down range. So really today we've still got choices. They still make flat nose and round nose bullets, and they actually have application. This is a a 453 1/4. Obviously, it's a dangerous game cartridge, and you're not going to shoot dangerous game at extreme range. What we've learned over the years that flat tip actually imparts a tremendous initial blow. It hits harder than a sharp-pointed bullet. Now, the sharp-pointed bullet that's a different deal. This is an SST, Hornady's great aerodynamic long-range bullet. A sharp-pointed bullet is not going to deliver quite as dramatic an initial blow as a blunt-nosed bullet, but it's going to hold its velocity a lot better and give you better downrange performance. So in country that's open, where you might be shooting at longer ranges, you absolutely want a sharp-pointed bullet. For dangerous game, blunt-nosed bullet's the way to go. Just make sure you match the bullet to the game you're hunting, and you'll do just fine.
This segment is brought to you by Cannon Safes. Nothing protects like a cannon.
A couple hours into the tracking, one of the trackers immediately stopped and started pointing. It was a female, and she was looking in our direction, but I don't think she really knew what was there. I think she had heard us. And now it was a stalemate. I mean, we had a standoff of all of us standing perfectly still as best we could for at least 20 minutes. We never got a chance to see the big bull, and finally after about 20 minutes they turned around, took off, and started trotting off, and of course we were back on the tracks again. We got up right on them at about 120 yards, but couldn't see the bull. So I guess now we'll keep going after him and see if we can find him. Another hour probably passed, and starting to get warm. Immediately one of the trackers again, right in front of us, started pointing, and sure enough, at about, I would say, 100 yards plus, we could see another female eland. And now they were just kind of moving around, obviously weren't aware of our presence. And as soon as he pointed out that bull and I saw it got clear of the tree to see him, there was no mistaking him. I mean, a huge difference between him and the females, and it was obvious he was a big bull, and so now the game's on. Quickly, Philippe and all of us moved forward. He wanted to try to get us in a position. As that bull had kept moving towards the females, we lost sight of him for a minute. So we probably went another 20, 30 yards and came around a little bit to the right. And sure enough, immediately we could see the bull at about 120 yards in front of us with half his body, his head, most of his chest sticking in a bush. He said, look, get in the sticks, get in position, get ready. Let me make sure it's him and make sure it's a good bull, and just be prepared to shoot if I tell you to. Probably wasn't 10 seconds later, Philippe said, yeah, he's a good bull, you can shoot him. The difficulty I had was that you couldn't see a lot of the eland. I felt confident doing so, but I still was a little uncomfortable doing it. But look, when you get a chance at a giant eland, you take the opportunity that they present you. Don't wait for the one you want, or you may never get one. When I shot, he immediately bucked and kind of rolled backwards. I knew that I had, hit him pretty good, and then he started bolting straight forward. And the guy started, hollering, there he is. We could all see him as he was coming down, running perfectly broadside to us. I picked out a window that was probably 15 or 20 yards in front of the eland. I knew he was running that direction, and I said, look, this is the chance. I've got to take him when he comes through this window. So Philippe threw the sticks up, put the scope and the crosshairs on that window, and waited for him to come. I got him in the crosshairs, fortunately made a decent shot, and he just piled up right there. My emotions were pretty overwhelming, my excitement level was pretty high, and we had a great trophy to boot. All right, it's our 6th day here in Central African Republic with Kawa, and our PH was Philippe Clairaut. And you can see he was kind enough to track down him and his guys, a beautiful giant eland for us here. So far, it's been quite amazing. In only 6 days, we've taken the giant eland Sing Sing water buck, a giant forest hog, a savanna buffalo. It's just been an incredible experience so far. A lot of game, a lot of animals, and of course, as you can see all over my head, a lot of sweat bees too, and tsetse flies. But it's hard hunting, and it's hot, but the reward is well worth it. If you've never done this before, you should definitely come and give it a try.
The Central African Republic is not a destination for the faint of heart. It's a hard land where you will earn your trophies under the unrelenting African sun that will test your will as the sweat flows from your body. As Aaron ran his hands over the horns of his bull, he knew the satisfaction that only a hunter who has physically held a dream in his hands can appreciate. The CAR had yielded other game to his efforts, all of which would be fondly remembered. But when Aaron Nielsen thinks back to those long, hot days, it will be the massive, spiraling wonder of his Lord Derby Eland that will beat strongest in his hunter's heart. Trijicon's World of Sports Afield has been brought to you by Trijicon, Brilliant Aiming Solutions, DSC, the Dallas Safari Club, Ruger Firearms, Hornady Manufacturing, Accurate, Deadly, Dependable, the Wildlife Gallery Custom Taxidermy Studio, Zeiss Sport Optics, Boyd Harness Company, Cannon Safes, nothing protects like a cannon, the Wild Sheep Foundation,
and Les Chameaux, the best boots money can buy.
Closed captioning provided by Getting Involved, a guide to hunting and conservation for kids.